Three, two, one. Okay, we are live and awesome, awesome, awesome. Just want to welcome everyone who's joining us. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are so happy to have you for another conversation, community conversation. And my name is Dia Kubi of Ruth's House Society and Mandela House here in Calgary, Alberta. We are an organization that addresses family violence in the Black community. We provide emergency shelter and resources to the Black communities who are experiencing different crises and different forms of abuse. And today we're having another community conversation, and I am joined by the amazing Constable Jessica of Calgary Police Services. I'm going to get Jessica to introduce herself briefly, and then we're going to talk about something that is very, very important to our community. And this is, you and the law and why this is so important. But let's go straight in. And Constable Jessica, please introduce yourself to our listeners. And just before you do that, just to let everybody know, housekeeping rules, please remain muted. For your own privacy, you can change your name as well as remain off camera. It's up to you. But we are live on YouTube and Facebook for this important conversation. So again, feel free to change your name. Feel free to, go off camera, and please remain muted. So, Constable Jessica, introduce yourself and how long you've been with CPS and why this conversation is important.
So my name is Jessica Kandaru. I've been with the Calgary Police for shy of 7 years now. I love my job, um, passionate about service to the community. And the reason this is so important to me is because so when I began my journey into becoming a police officer, I hadn't met anyone who looks like me. So I'm of South Sudanese descent. I moved to Canada when I was 20. So going through the process, it was hard for me to know how to become a police officer. So, and then once I've gotten on into the job now, there's situations whereby I'll notice some of our people are hesitant towards, talking with us, being able to connect. Like if we show up to your house, there's usually hesitation every once in a while. So it's nice for people to see that if I can do it, if I wear this uniform, if I'm passionate about it every single day, then we're your friends. We're there to help. We're your partners. So that's why all of this is important to me. Yeah.
Mm. And so tell us about you and the law and this particular presentation, especially because within our community, we utilize the police a lot. We call 911 a lot of time. So tell us about this presentation and this conversation we're about to have and why it's important.
So you and the law is an introduction to our service as the police. So we'll talk about domestic violence. We'll talk about child discipline. Like anytime I do this presentation, because back home you could beat your child, like, but then people come out here, they're like, oh no, I can't beat my child. You're allowed to discipline your child, but there's parameters within the criminal code. So we talk about that. We talk about traffic stops. Anytime I do a traffic stop, every once in a while someone would want to step out of the car and walk towards me. Like back home you could do that, but here that's a big no-no. You stay in your car and you don't leave your car at any point. So, or say my police powers as an officer, if I came to your house, there's instances where I don't need a warrant to enter inside your house. I can, if you don't let me in, I will force my way into the house. So it's just an introduction to the law, who we are and why we do what we do. That's pretty much what this presentation is.
Okay, so before we
Yes.
go into our conversation, why don't you go ahead, share your screen, and let's kick this off. Because I know people have questions, but I want to get through the presentation first. So you should be able to share your screen.
Let's see. Screen.
Share.
Let me see. Oh, I can't seem to see it. What happened? How do we stop? Hold on. Nope, that's not it. Just trying to figure out how to close it now.
So I want to say thank you to all of those that are joining us. And, if you have any questions, please use the chat. Any contributions whatsoever, please use the chat. We want to hear from you. This is a conversation. And so it's important that everyone contributes to this critical conversation that we're having about you and the law and what to expect when the police comes to your home. What is the role of CPS in, the Black community? What can they do? What can they not do? And yes, that's what we're going to be having this morning. So, and technology always does this to us. We just tested everything and it was fine.
I know. Okay. There you go. So share. Can you see it now?
It's coming up. Yes, we do see it. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll turn it into a slideshow. Man. From the beginning. There you go. Can you still see it?
It's still there.
Okay, perfect. So like I said, this presentation is usually done by the diversity resource team, which is our community outreach team. I used to be with them. That's when I got to meet Lovely D. I did what's called a secondment with them for 3 months and I loved it. But what I am is I'm a regular patrol cop. So if any one of you lives in the Southwest, I used to be in the Northeast for a while. Then I just moved to the Southwest. So I'm one of those people whom you'll see driving around in a patrol car. If you're in an accident, that's me who will attend. If you dial 911, that's me who will show up at your house. But this presentation is mostly done by the diversity resource team. So we'll play the land acknowledgement video here. That's if it will let me do it. And it will not. So we'll just skip it. So usually with this presentation, when it's in a room, I have everybody introduce themselves, but I don't know who's here. If you ever run into me, just say hi. It's happened that one of Dee's presentation, the last one I did, one of the fellows ran into me at the airport and came and said hi. So if at any point you see me one day, either in uniform or not, just feel free to say hi and introduce yourself. So like I said, we will cover, who the Calgary Police Services and our role in policing in Canada. And then emergencies, when to call 911 and when not to call 911. So we have the option for you to use another number if it's not urgent. 911 is for life-threatening situations. We'll also talk about your Charter of Freedom and Rights, and then we'll end off with domestic violence, child discipline, traffic arrest, traffic offenses, and arrest and detention. So this is another video.
Hello. Salam alaikum. Okay. Hola. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to Calgary. We are the Calgary Police and we serve all citizens, upholding the law and keeping the community safe. In your home country, the police may have only protected the powerful. In Canada, the police protect everyone. Officers in uniforms have shoulder patches, a badge, and the word police written on their uniform and their cars. Plainclothes officers, like myself, carry identification, which you can ask to see. Marked and unmarked cars have blue and red lights built into the vehicle. You can call the police if you see a crime or you are a victim. You do not have to worry, as this will not affect your immigration status. If you need to speak to police, call 403-266-1234. If it's an emergency or you are in danger, call 911. We are the Calgary Police Service, and we are here to help.
Did that video play?
The video didn't, but we heard it clearly.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a very cool video.
Oh.
So, sorry guys. Let me see. Okay. So during the video, she mentioned something along the lines of, if you need to speak to the police, dial 403-266-1234. So that's for all non-emergency situations. Say you have an argument with your neighbor and you think it needs police intervention. Don't dial 911. Call the 266-1234 number. Unless it involves a weapon and your life is threatened, that's when you call 911. So as the Calgary Police, our main mandate is to protect life. So life comes first, and then property, that's second. We also maintain peace and order. We prevent crime. So if crime is in progress, I show up in my patrol car, but then after the crime takes place, I investigate the matter. We also enforce municipal laws. So a municipal law would be like a traffic bylaw. What else? If you throw garbage on the ground, I see you doing it, that's littering. That's a municipal law. I could write you a ticket. Provincial laws would be traffic offenses. So driving, for example, that's a provincial law. It falls under the Traffic Safety Act, those are the tickets that we end up writing. And then federal law, that's under the criminal code. So if you assault someone, if you steal, anything that falls under the criminal code, that's federal law. So those are the three different types of enforcements that we carry out. So as Calgary police officers, do you see the tactical? Do you see the next slide?
No, we're not seeing the slide. You're still on the first one.
Oh,
I know.
hold on. I think I may have to I'll just stop sharing for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may just have to go slide by slide.
Yes.
Can you see this slide?
Yes, we see it now.
Okay, so that's the one I just spoke of.
Yes.
Us being, we maintain peace and order, we prevent crime when it's in progress, and then we also investigate once the crime has taken place, and then enforcing municipal laws, like I explained, provincial laws and federal laws. So this next slide, it shows so the first one would be our tactical team. Some of you you rarely see them up and around. It's the equivalent of the TV show, the American police TV show called SWAT. So the tactical unit, they mostly do the high risk arrest. So if we have to kick down a house because of search warrants, there's weapons involved, and it's a high target offender, we mostly use the tactical unit. Then the second one, we have a police action crisis team, which is called a PAC team. So what it is it's an agreement between us and Alberta Health. And this unit only deals with mental health. So say if you have a community treatment order, which is you're mandated to take medication every month, with regards to your mental health, they intervene. Or if we're dealing with someone who's going through mental health crisis, these are trained mental health nurses that engage with the person while the police are with them, just in case anything were to happen. And then the next slide, the next picture to the right, that's what a police badge looks like. So I have the golden shiny thing, and the regimental number on mine is 5619. So that one is someone who's probably been on the job for 20 years, I would say, plus, because it's 3408. So we all carry that. So if a detective was to come to your house and they said they're a detective because they're wearing plain clothes, then they would show you a golden badge like that. But my uniform has to the right, which is what I'm wearing right now. That's a patch. So all our uniforms have that. And the gentleman to the right, to the left bottom, that's the uniform I wear every day to work. And then we have our mounted, like our horse unit. Sometimes people go missing. So, say we have a lot of parks, and if someone was to go missing in a park, we're not taking our marked patrol unit driving around. And the area is too big for us to walk searching for a kid or someone who has dementia. So, the mounted unit, the horses, that's what they're there for. They're perfect for that, looking for people in large, park areas. They also do crowd control. So, say if we have demonstrations downtown, the mounted unit is very good at helping out with crowd control. Then the final photograph, that's graduation. That's the ceremony we normally go through. Okay. So, as the Calgary Police Service, we have different types of units. And for those of you who are new, so this presentation is mainly geared towards people who are new to Calgary or per se Canada. And for those of you who have kids, depending on the age of the kids, when they go to school, they'll come back, tell you, hey, I saw a police officer at school. What that police officer is, they're called school resource officer. And they play a very vital role within schools, because we do have there's a lot that happens in schools that most people don't know about. So this police officers, one, they're that go-between. Rather than, I'm trying to think of a good way to, so they're a go-between. One, they make friends with the kids. The kids feel free. They talk to the officers talk to the kids. The officers educate the kids. And if something was to happen in school, say an assault, a theft, they step in to help out. So it's somewhat some type of community policing, but within schools. So we have one, don't quote, I'm not so sure how many, but say one school resource officer would have 10 schools assigned to them, and they will rotate from school to school dealing with any issues that happen within the school. So pretty much the school district board's liaison between the schools and us, the Calgary Police Service. So another important thing the school resource officers do is, for those of you who have kids, like I said, there's lockdown drills. School resource officers, like I know you've heard of horrific situations, things that have happened in the US. Luckily enough, we've been lucky, none of that has happened here. But another important role of the school resource officers is they train the kids. So they carry out practice lockdown drills. So when I worked in the Northeast, we had someone called in from the school, and this is just an example. Someone called in from the school saying that they'd seen a fellow student with a firearm. So what happened is the entire school went into like a lockdown drill. The kids locked themselves in a classroom. Everybody hunkered down. And we, the police, I was me plus other police officers, we went into the school, we cleared the school, and every classroom was locked. Every gym was locked. So we trained the kids on what to do if there's any type of danger. So they're called lockdown drills, and the kids get to practice them every once in a while with school resource officers, like what to do in case of danger or in case there's any trouble. So the next thing we'll move on to is police officers in Calgary. So for those of you who are tuning in from Airdrie, you would have the RCMP patrolling your area. So how it works with policing in Canada is I work for the city of Calgary. We're a big enough municipality that we're able to afford our own police force. While those of you who live in Airdrie, you're contracted out to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and their uniform is different, which is the uniform to the bottom left. That's what they wear. So they'll have the yellow forge cap and their pants are black with the yellow stripe. And then the uniform up top, that's their ceremonial uniform. If say they're graduating or they have to go marching, that's pretty much it. And then their uniforms would have the patch, the second patch. And then for those of you who live on Stony, you know, Sutina Nation, there's Costco. I love going to that Costco. So there's a police station next to it. It's the Sutina police station. So they're our neighbors to the south. That's what their patch would look like, and that's the police uniform. D, can you still see?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Okay. So then we have other local law enforcement agencies. We have the Canadian Border Service Agency. Those are the people, everybody got welcomed by them when you came to Canada. I remember I landed in Newfoundland, and it's the Canada Border Service Agency that I dealt with. So their jurisdiction is within the airport. So all land border, be it water, land, and air borders, that's the jurisdiction of the Canadian Border Service. Is I have no power at the airport when you're coming in and you're picking up your luggage when you're coming through an international flight. And then we have the Alberta sheriffs. Their job, for one, is if you're driving on the highway, they do traffic enforcement along the highway. So when you're driving to Edmonton, you're most likely, if you're speeding, you're most likely to be pulled over by an Alberta sheriff. They also do security at the courthouse. If ever you've had any business at the courthouse, that's the Alberta sheriff. And then they also do prisoner transport. So when we arrest individuals, we have to take them to one place, and then the Alberta sheriffs move them from there to the prison. And then we have the Calgary Transit. So they are peace officers employed by the city of Calgary to carry out transit enforcement. So if you take the bus, if you take the train, and there's any issues or you haven't paid your fare, that's the Calgary Transit peace officers that you'll come across. And then finally, we have the City of Calgary bylaw. Those are peace officers as well who work for the City of Calgary. So the bylaw, they do traffic enforcement. That's one thing they do. So if you park your car in the wrong place, they'll write you a ticket. If you park your car without a license plate, I saw that a lot in the Northeast. People would park their cars on the street without a license plate. They can either tow your car or write you a ticket. You can't do that. If you let your grass grow too long, the Calgary bylaw will write you a ticket. I know if there's garbage, so say, and this is, by the way, this is something everybody should know. If you have a neighbor whose yard is full of garbage, like there's a fridge, a mattress, like everything, and it's stuck in the backyard, you can call bylaw on them and they will be forced to clean up their yard. So there's things people don't know, like, because sometimes I'd go to homes and people, and that's another thing too. When it snows in the winter, you're supposed to clean up the snow. Like if you can't have the sidewalk, because the sidewalk in front of your house is your responsibility. And if you don't clean up the sidewalk in front of your house, the Calgary bylaw will write you a ticket. So clean up after yourself when it snows. It sucks. That's why I live in a condo building. I don't have to do it. So yeah, it's a lot of work because I work night shift. So it's hard having to, if I'm the first early shift, having to wake up at 4 a.m., clean the snow, and then go to work.
No, don't do that.
Yeah,
That's why I downsize.
Oh, so you know the struggle. You know the
I don't
struggle.
do that.
Yeah. So, and then the next service we have, so when you call 911, they'll ask you whether you want police, EMS, which is emergency medical services, or fire. So anytime you call 911, they'll ask if you want those three things. And then you will specify whichever service it is you want. So if it's a medical issue, they'll send the EMS, emergency medical services. And if there's a fire, God forbid, the Calgary Fire Department will show up. But if you are in a collision, say you're in an accident, most times they'll send us, the police, and the Calgary Fire Department. So I deal with the paperwork side of things. They help you move your car to the side. If your car is leaking fluids, there's this concoction that looks like sand that they pour on the roads that it's not too slippery and it might cause an accident. Okay, so now the fun part. Let's talk about the law. So, like I said, we have 3 levels of law in Canada. So, there's the federal law, which is the one that governs, like it's the government of Canada, it's the highest level. And under the federal law, you have your Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And then the second thing that falls under that is the criminal code, which is every offense imaginable you could think of, it's there. That's listed under the criminal code. So if I was to charge you with theft, there's theft over 5,000, there's theft over under 5,000. So under the criminal code, it'll specify, it'll describe the offense, it'll say how much time you will serve, like it just breaks it down. That's what the criminal code is. And then next is the provincial law. So provincial law, like I said, that's the Traffic Safety Act. So any type of driving offense would fall under the provincial law. And then the other important part under the provincial law is the Cannabis Gaming Liquor Act. So weed is legal. My mom's visiting. It's funny, like she was surprised that weed is legal. So, but like in most countries, for those of you who are from Africa, weed is not legal. But here, you can walk in, you can buy weed at any store. So that is governed under the Cannabis Act. So it says how much you can grow. So if you decide to grow it in your house, yes, you can have weed, but then be sure to educate yourself on how many plants you're allowed to have. And then you cannot have it around children. So there's laws that govern all of that. And the same thing with alcohol. There's laws that fall under that. You can't be under the age of 18 and drinking alcohol, all supplying kids with alcohol. Then the final level of the law is the municipal one, which is what I was talking about. So the first one is noise. After 11, for those of you who live in apartments, after 11 o'clock, turn down the music. Like we get a lot of noise complaints, you wouldn't believe. People will have loud speakers, loud music. You're having a party well into 1, 2 a.m. in the night. No, you shouldn't do that. Just be conscious of your neighbors, because I could happily write you a ticket. I love my sleep, and if either one of my neighbors had a party at 2 o'clock and I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to work, I'm calling the police, and the police would show up and tell you to shut down the party. The other thing, like I said, with municipal laws is snow removal. You gotta clean your sidewalk. If you don't, you're getting a ticket. And then the third one would be transit, which governs, you taking the bus, you have to pay your fare. There's all those laws with Calgary Transit. So we'll break down the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So I'll just read that verbatim. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms sets out those rights and freedoms that Canadians believe are necessary to them. So now that you're in Canada, depending on what your status is, so if you're Canadian, you're at the top tier. I'm Canadian, I'm at the top tier. Permanent residents, you're second. And then for you who are in temporary status, I don't want to say at the bottom tier, but you come in third. So most of these rights apply to all of us. So you've got democratic rights. If you're Canadian, you can vote. Permanent residents, or you can't. Mobility rights. You have the freedom to travel across the country. Nobody can stop you. You have legal rights. I, as the police officer, just can't stop you and be like, empty out your pockets. I won't search you. No. You have legal rights. Equality. We're all equal. Doesn't matter your gender, men, women, race, color, we're all the same. Official languages. So in Canada, we have 2 days, English and French. Depending on where you live, I used to live in Ottawa, the capital region, so there's a lot of French and English. You walk into a place, you expect to be given service in either English and French. So we're in Alberta, this is an English-speaking province. So if you walk into a provincial building, you will get service in English. It's a right that you get service in English. But if you walk into a federal building in Alberta, it's a right that you either get service in English or French. So that's something we all need to be aware of. So when I lived in Quebec for a bit, I would go to places and they would provide me services in French, and there's nothing I could do. So I learned the language, which I forgot eventually, but yeah. So when should you call 911? This is for those of you who have kids, for starters, teach your kids to not jokingly dial 911, because we go to a lot of these calls whereby either your child takes the phone, dials 911, or for you who have iPhones, if you press the two buttons to the side, mine does the same. Like when I put them in the cup holder, or if I'm holding it, it presses 911. So you have to be careful, because anytime you dial 911 and you hang up, we must show up to your house, regardless of anything. So you can imagine, like, when you press 911, there's someone who's because we only have so many people answering the phone. So you might have someone who has an emergency, an actual emergency, trying to get through, but they're being blocked by your child who's playing with the phone, because kids get taught how to dial 911 at school, and then guess what? They immediately try and do it. So that's one thing. Educate your kids not to just playfully call 911. So when to call 911. If you're in an accident, call 911. If there's a fire, call 911. If you're in medical distress, call us. So when you call us, depending on what the type of emergency is, 3 of us will show up, police, EMS, or fire, or 2 of us will show up, depending on the type of emergency. So sometimes it will be a medical emergency. We've had situations whereby it's a medical emergency, but the person who's having this medical emergency might be exhibiting violent tendencies. So we can't have EMS go by themselves, because they don't have the weapons that I normally have. So if you see me in uniform, I'm carrying about 50 pounds, which is my firearm, my taser, my radio, my pepper spray. So I'm 5'1". Like, I know you can't tell I'm short, but I'm very short. People make fun of me. I look like a child wearing a costume when I'm in my police uniform. That being said, because I have everything I have, I can walk into any situation comfortably knowing that I can deal with whatever threat, we call them threats, that's in front of me. However, with EMS, medical services, they don't have any tools on them. So if you call for a medical emergency and they have safety concerns, then they'll wait for us, the police, to show up. I will walk in, make sure everything is safe, and then EMS shows up. So, because we've had situations whereby emergency medical services have had to urgently need help because they walk into a house to help someone, and then the person starts fighting them, and then now we have to come in, like, with the sirens so that we can help them out. Yeah, so like I said, there's emergency calls and there's non-emergency calls, and I can't stress enough about this. If it's not urgent, so say your car was stolen last night, you wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock, please don't call 911. Call the non-emergency number. It's 266-1234. If your neighbor is littering, like say you see someone with the Southwest, I'm yet to see this a lot, but in the Northeast, there's those back roads whereby people would go dump stuff, like empty out their couch and their fridge, and they just throw. If you witness something like that, yeah, call 266-1234. And then if you have bylaw issues, so like your neighbor not cutting their grass, so the neighbor not shoveling snow, call 311. They'll dispatch a peace officer to come and have a conversation or write the ticket.
Jessica, I
Yeah.
have somebody asking that, can I call 911 if my partner will not let me leave the house?
Yes. So that is a life-threatening situation. Please call 911. I will come, like with my lights and sirens full speed. That your life is at stake at that point. You don't know, okay, fine, they're stopping you from leaving the house. You don't know what they'll do next. So that's a perfect example of when to call us. If you're in imminent danger, call us. So yes. So the
Again,
next,
lots of questions in the chats, but keep going.
okay, I will try to like blow through this because I learned my best presentation is the conversations can go on for long.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to talk about, I'm hoping, Dee, let me know if you can see this video.
Mm.
Can you see the video?
It's coming up. Yes.
To prevent crimes in your
Good.
neighborhood.
Yes.
This
Okay.
includes patrolling areas to look for suspicious activity. Police have the legal right to speak to anyone. It is your choice to decide whether you respond to their questions.
No, I just visiting my friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does your friend live?
It's a couple blocks over.
Is that your car over there?
No.
What were you doing by the car? Is it alright if I look inside your backpack?
If police have reason to believe that a person has committed a crime, they have the legal right to check the individual to further the investigation.
What are these tools for? They're under arrest for breaking and entry tools. Have a seat in our car.
If police have reason to believe that the suspect has committed a crime, they have the right to arrest the person. Once placed under arrest, police will notify the suspect of their charter rights, which include the rights to not speak to police and to contact a lawyer.
Okay, so I'll break this down because most people don't know about this. So for starters, we the police can speak to anyone we want. Like I can walk up to anyone and I can have a conversation with you. The choice is yours if you want to speak to me or not. The second important thing that came up here is if we have reasonable grounds to believe that you've committed an offense. So usually when I'm doing this like in person, I'll have someone step up, stand up, and if they have a bag. So say you're shopping at Walmart and so one of the loss prevention officers, because there's usually loss prevention at the security people at Walmart, Superstore, all of these grocery stores. So every once in a while, they'll call us saying, "Hey, we have someone whom we think has concealed items inside their bag." They call the police. I show up. They point you to me. I walk up to you, even though I didn't see you, but I have reasonable grounds to believe, as per the loss prevention officer, the security person at the store, that you stole those items. Because of that report, or because of the statement made by the security person, I can search your bag because I suspect you have concealed items in your bag. So that's the only right that we, the police officers, have to search your person if we believe you've committed an offense. If we don't believe you've committed an offense, then I just can't arbitrarily walk to anyone and ask to search their bags. I need to be placed. Like there has to be a criminal offense. The only other time that isn't covered in this that I search someone is, say, if I have to give someone a ride in my police car. I know maybe you just got into an accident and you're like, I can't call an Uber. I don't have money to call an Uber. Can you give me a ride to my house? I don't trust anyone. If you want to enter my police car, I search you. That's the only time I search someone. And then the other time I search, or I wouldn't say search, is I do a pat down, is for safety concerns. Say I show up to a house and husband and wife, that there's been a fight. And casually, maybe during the phone call, a knife may have been mentioned or a weapon may have been mentioned. And I work by myself. So what I do, the first thing I do is, hey man, like there was mention of a weapon. Can you just lift your waistband and I'll tap your pocket slightly to see if there's weapons in your pocket. I'll have you lift your waistband to see if there's anything, and I'll have you turn around. That's it. So I do that, and I'll tell you, as a safety precaution, before we start having a conversation about what happened, let me just make sure we're safe. So that's the third, when it comes to searching people. And then the final thing that they said that was very important is, I have the right to arrest someone if I believe you've committed an offense. So if there's sufficient evidence to support you having committed an offense, I can place you under arrest. So say it's 2 a.m., you're walking down the street going home from the club, and usually at night. Okay, so when people call the police, the first thing the dispatcher will ask you is provide a description. Black male wearing black t-shirt, black pants, black shoes. And I'm driving down and I see, oh yeah, black male, black t-shirt, black pants. Lawfully, it's 2 o'clock. There's no one 2 blocks out. Chances are you're the person who did it. I can walk up to you, be like, hey buddy, you're under arrest. Get in the back of my car. Sometimes we as the police make mistakes. You might not have been the person, but in good faith, I arrested you thinking you were the person. But what we do is we continue to watch CCTV. We gather CCTV footage. You'll be seated in the back of my car for like 20 minutes. And then we figure out, oh, whoopsies, you're not the person who committed the offense. We'll release you. So legally, if I believe you committed the offense, I can place you under arrest. I'm hoping that makes sense. But then if we're able to prove you didn't do it, we immediately release you, or the charges get dropped sometime along the way. So that does happen.
Okay.
Yeah. But most days, I would say my career, maybe that's happened once or twice. But most times we usually gather sufficient evidence. The example I just gave is when we have break and enters, that's something, it's an offense in continuation. That's the only time that is most likely to happen. But most other offenses is we actually investigate, we verify the identity of the person, we make sure the witnesses saw the person. So there's a lot that goes into arresting someone. We just don't arrest unless you have evidence. So, okay, domestic violence. D, your thing.
Yes, and I have lots of questions.
Yeah, so the list is there on the types of domestic violence, but I think the two that the one I consider the most dangerous is stalking, because I've seen, like, my experience on the job is when they stalking, that's just the prelude to worse things yet to come. So I had this female who she broke up with a boy, and for 2 years, those of you who have Interact, like the online banking where you can email someone money, what he would do is he would send her 50 cents, because then she blocked his phone number, she moved. But so this man, the only way he knew he would get to her is by sending her Interact deposits. And he would send like 50 cents here with like a very long message. For those of you who know what Interact is and how you can send a message attached to, that's what he would do. But in the message, he would send threatening things. And this went on for a year until one day she's like, man, let me call the police. So she calls me and I'm like, yo, this is criminal harassment. He's not allowed to do that. He cannot do that. And for him to do it for such a long period of time, that's not right. So the other thing too is emotional abuse. You know, you're fat, you're ugly, you're this, you're not worthy. That's domestic violence. And for most people, you don't realize that. Like, I guess it happens for so long that you normalize it because we all focus on the physical, the sexual, the verbal. You fail to realize that you can actually controlling someone's finances or how you treat someone with regards to finances can also be a form of domestic violence. So it happens. It's just that we don't talk about it enough. So this is something else. We'll play a video here and then we'll talk about my police powers coming into your house.
You're doing great, Jessica. We have lots of questions.
If this happens, it is known as domestic abuse.
Hey, where are you going?
I can't stand for this.
No. Where are you going?
I'm-
Yeah, listen to me here,
No.
all right? Yeah.
If police are called to check the home, you must let them in so that they can make sure that everyone in the home is safe.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good. Calgary Police Services. We got a call from the neighbors that there's a domestic disturbance going on here. Can I come in and have a look around?
No, everything's all right here.
The police have the right to enter the home. By law, it's the responsibility of the police to find out what has happened.
We'll find it.
Whoops, sorry. My bad. Were you able to watch
In
that
Canada,
video?
one
Yeah,
person
it's still playing. It's fine.
If this happens, it is known as domestic
Yeah, okay.
abuse.
Hey, where are you going?
I can't stand for this.
No. Where are you going?
I'm-
Yeah, listen to me here,
No.
all right? Yeah.
If police are called to check the home, you must let them in so that they can make sure that everyone in the home is safe.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good. Calgary Police Service. We got a call from the neighbors that there's a domestic disturbance going on here. Can I come in and have a look around?
No, everything's all right here.
The police have the right to enter the home. By law, it's the responsibility of the police to find out what has happened.
We'll find it.
The officers will look for proof of injuries or any other abuse.
Was it just verbal?
If they see signs of abuse, the officer may lay charges against anyone they believe has broken a law. Charges can include assault, threats of assault, damage to property, and sexual assault. If the law is broken, the offender may be given a notice to appear in court, or the offender may be taken from the home under arrest.
Mr. Brown, do you understand why you are here today?
Hours later, he will appear in front of a bail judge and can be released with conditions. These conditions include no contact with the victim, cannot go back to home, no use of drugs or alcohol, and all weapons will be taken away.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown.
Both the victim and offender must appear in domestic court. Domestic court only deals with family problems. It is here that items known as evidence of the assault will be presented. If you're found guilty, the judge may sentence you to spend time in jail or pay a fine to the court. Canadian laws are meant to protect everyone. In Canada, all people are equal, and you must treat everyone with dignity and respect.
Okay, perfect. So there's a few things that came up there that are very important. And I think I touched on this at the very start. So when I go to most people's houses, they're like, oh no, you can't come into my house. You need a warrant. Yes. So there's situations whereby we as the police, for us to enter your homes, we need a search warrant. I write on a piece of paper the reasons as to why I believe that they said evidence in your house, or I go down to the courthouse, the judge reads this document, they're like, okay, yeah, sure, here's a search warrant. I grab the tactical team, we come and kick down your door. Yes, so that's a situation where you need a search warrant. But then there's also situations where we, the police, can come into your house. Say if my neighbor next door here I start hearing yelling and screaming and things breaking. I call the police show up. By right, so by law, the police don't need your consent to enter your house. If you don't politely let them in, they will force your way in. And the reason we do that is we have to ensure the safety of all the occupants in that house. So that's where we get the authority to enter the house without a warrant. So if there's noise, screaming, punching, kicking, yeah, and the neighbors hear it and they call the police, or say the wife in the house or husband in the house who's been assaulted, because assault goes both ways. I've arrested both men and women. If the husband calls in to say, my wife is beating me up, and then he hangs up the phone and isn't able to provide any more of a statement to the dispatcher, I get called to the house. I'm met at the door with the wife, and the wife refuses to let me in. I will force my way into that house to make sure that man who called the police is safe and every other occupant in the house. The second important thing that came up in this video is the woman was trying to leave. The man was trying to force her to stay. You cannot force someone to stay within a residence against their will. It's called forcible confinement, and you could get arrested for that. The other thing you cannot do is say, if someone picks up the phone to call 911 and ask for help, you grab that phone, you smash it on the floor, and you break it. That's an offense. You can't do that. You cannot stop someone for asking for help. I forget what the offense is called, but yeah, you can't do that. So the other thing too is sometimes people lie, and sometimes people tell great tales, and we the police show up. And in Canada, your verbal statement is enough for someone to be arrested. So if I show
Sorry,
up to
your
the
verbal
house,
statement.
yes, a verbal statement. So with most of us, if you say they choked me, but with us, our skin is dark. I'm dark. I can't tell if you are choked. I can't tell if you are slapped. Well, when I go to Middle Eastern or white people who've been assaulted, like, you can still see the bruising. It's fresh. So that's just an example. So if you as a Black person was to say, I got choked, I can't see the marks. But I'll take your verbal statement and I'll ask you what happened. And if it's credible, if it sounds credible, yes, I can arrest that man for assault. So yes, I can arrest that woman for assault. So a verbal statement, if you told a story of what happened, it is enough for me to arrest someone and bring them before the courts to be charged with assault.
Without evidence.
The verbal statement is the evidence. The verbal statement can count as evidence. And that's one thing people don't realize is if you tell a story, and that's the other thing too, is sometimes people tell lies, which is sad, but it happens. But then if you tell your story and it's credible enough and there's things that can back that story, yes, a verbal statement can count as evidence.
Wow.
And can lead to an arrest. Because I had an investigation, sexual assault. She was 18. She was 18, but then that had a little bit of an additional caveat to it. But 18-year-old girl, she's leaving work to go home. She gets grabbed and pulled by her coworker, and he, forcibly touches her breasts. And everybody's above the age of 18, right?
Mhm. Yes,
I don't
go
want to
ahead.
say. Okay, so he forcibly grabs her breast and forcibly touches her and then drags her hand. Like, he sexually assaulted this girl. So I listened to her story. And she called, I think, a day and a half or 2 days after the offense occurred. Because with most victims, not everybody calls the date happens. Some wait a month, some wait 10 years. We had a girl who was sexually assaulted when she was 12 and only called it in at the age of 20. And then I'll go back to the other story. But then when we pulled the records, this man has been doing it for a long time. But this girl waited over a decade to call it in. And her statement alone was enough. But then you look at a pattern. So with this man, he did this to this girl, and she was on the phone with her sister, and all her sister could hear is, "No, let go, leave me alone." So I got her verbal statement. There was no CCTV, there were no witnesses, just her verbal statement and what her sister overheard. But then I went the extra mile. I talked to other females who worked with this man, and all these females said, "Oh, yeah, this man would have inappropriate, like there would be a lot of inappropriate touching, like very lewd sexual comments." So there was a pattern, but then that helped solidify what this girl said. I don't know if that makes sense. So yes, your verbal statement does count as evidence. So for those of you who it's happened to you, but you're too scared because nobody will believe you, no, someone will, because a verbal statement does count as evidence. So we're good, D?
Wow,
Okay.
that's raising a lot of comments for me on my phone.
Yeah, so it's unbelievable that people don't know this, because with most victims of sexual abuse, they don't come in, like, if it happened when you were a kid, you don't, some people don't talk about it until they're grown adults. Like if you just look at
Yes.
when it happens, and convictions happen based off of verbal testimony. Like someone will just give a testimony of what happened, and most instances there's multiple victims, and when you listen to the verbal statements, there's consistency with every victim. Then yeah, so
Wow.
yes, yeah.
Okay. Somebody wants to know, what if that person is lying and is just, trying to get at them?
So that's the unfortunate part. People do lie. People do lie, and I've seen people lie, and most times we're able to catch people in their lies. And it's rather unfortunate when it doesn't happen, like when it goes all the way through. Like I haven't had that experience just yet, but I've gone to homes whereby mom will lie that, and it's mostly with custody disputes, whereby a parent will make up a lie in order to win custody of the child, or in order, like
Yes.
if you're a spouse, like you're very vindictive and you're trying to, yes, so people do lie, and it's sad. I've had instances where I've asked the kid, I'm like, "Hey, what did you see?" And the kid gives you a very different narrative, and that's the beauty with children, is kids don't lie. So yeah, sometimes we've listened to kids' statements, sometimes we've talked to neighbors, but yes, people do lie. And this is why I tell men, anytime I go to issues with domestic violence, I always tell men, because a larger percentage of offenders are men towards women. And if she's a good actor, if she tells a good story, then she's more likely to be believed. So I always tell men, which is really bad, I know, but this is my thing. I always tell men the onus is on you. Separate yourself from the situation. If you have to videotape the argument, videotape it. But the one thing I say is, if you need the police to deal with your marriage or help you deal with your partner, you shouldn't be in that relationship to begin with, because it's not normal for the police to show up at your house and adjudicate your relationship, whether it's, even though it's just a verbal argument, that's not normal. So yes, people do lie. But the other thing I would say is, I'm an African, I'm very loud. My coworkers, those who meet me for the first time, like I work with 95% white people, and I'm very loud. So when people first meet me, they're like, "Why are you yelling at me?" I'm like, "I'm not yelling. That's just my normal voice." So when we go into domestic situations that involve African people, I remember one very fondly. It was a Nigerian couple, and the woman's the victim of the situation. But the way, like the yelling, and you know how we Africans are, like we're loud, like we're very verbally I don't know how to say this without getting into trouble. Do you know what I'm talking
The
about, right?
extrovert.
Yes, like we will
Extrovert.
be, and I'm not,
Expressive.
yeah, we're very expressive, we're very loud. And when the police shows up and you're like, that like we're I know that's normal. So I walk in and I'm smiling. But if it's someone who isn't exposed to the normalcy of how we express ourselves, they'll be on guard. Then they won't it makes it hard for, I don't know how to put, what I'm trying to say is this: be calm. When the cops show up, just be calm and tell your story. There's no need for fanfare, there's no need for yelling, there's no need for screaming. Just tell your story. That's it. Because then it makes it easier for them to be able to relate, them to ask, them to not have their guard on. Because anytime I show up to a house and there's tension, and I'm tense too. I'll be tense because I don't trust anyone. I don't know what your next move is. But when they show up and you're relaxed, and it's hard to be relaxed when you've been battered or bruised, but just tell your story and they'll listen. I don't know if I made that clear.
That makes sense. Somebody's asking that, when it comes to a Muslim family, do you send an officer who knows their culture? Or is it just any officer that responds to the call?
It's the officer that responds to the call. So the one thing though the service has done really well is we're very sensitized to other cultures. So say when I worked in the Northeast with the Sikh people, they have prayer rooms. I wouldn't walk into the prayer room with my shoes on because police shoes are the dirtiest thing ever. So I wouldn't walk in. Like I would stand outside and say, "Can you come to me?" Same thing with a Muslim household. You have your carpet, you pray on that carpet. If you don't want that police officer to, because sometimes the carpet you pray on is the same carpet that's within the living area, just tell the officer that's your prayer mat for them not to step on it. And most of them will comply unless it's a very high stress situation. Then, oh no, I'm not listening to you. Like I don't care where I step. But if it's calm, it's cool. Yes. Certain instances, if you only want to talk to a female officer, you can ask and they'll make it available. If there's no one available, they'll say sorry, no. So we are taught, like the 6-7 years I've been on the job, yes, we go the extra mile to make sure we're respecting culture, race, gender issues. If you have any concerns, yeah.
Okay. We have lots more, but I'll let you keep going.
Okay, so domestic violence, like I think it's a new one. It's son and daughter, cousins, grandfather, uncles. If you're family, if you're related by blood, it's domestic violence. But now the criminal code changed it to also involve, say, if you meet, if you're paying for a service, that's also domestic violence. Or if it's a one-time stand, one night stand. That's, yeah. So as long as you're having a sexual relationship with someone, whether you're committed or not, that's still domestic violence.
So for women that work in the sex industry, that's also they're classified as domestic violence.
Yeah, it is domestic violence. Yes. So they've come up. So how the courts, and this is just an Alberta thing. If you live in Ontario, they didn't have it in Ontario. In Alberta, we have what's called an emergency protection order. And if you have any familial ties, you can apply for this. So I've had it where a daughter has gotten an emergency protection order against her dad and had her dad kicked out of the house. Husband can apply for this document and you can have your wife removed from the house. So this is how it works. An emergency protection order, it's extended to Albertans if you're experiencing family violence. So you can apply for it in person by going down to the courthouse. I, as the police, can apply for it if it's exigent. So I'll give you another example of when I applied for an emergency protection order. I had a female who was experiencing culture-based violence. So she was tortured by her own family, and had to flee. So when she fled, she was trying to commit suicide as a result of the cultural violence. She was dating a boy outside the culture. The family wasn't happy with it. So they were torturing her. She didn't like it, fled the home. When she fled the home, tried to commit suicide, couldn't. So the hospital called me. So when I stepped in and I started talking to her, so this girl started showing me like burn marks on her hand. Like she'd experienced a lot of physical, emotional violence. So when she gave me that initial statement, she was in so much shock that that verbal statement, like it wasn't concrete enough. I needed like all the details. So what I did as the police is I applied for an emergency protection order because I still couldn't arrest the family. I applied for the emergency protection order, and what this did is the family cannot communicate with the female directly or indirectly. They cannot go to where she stays. They cannot use a second party to communicate with her. So this gave her like some form of safety net while I did my investigation, complete mine. So get the medical records from the hospital detailing the injuries, get her full statement. So it took me almost 2 weeks to carry out my investigation. And then this emergency protection order protected them. So you can apply for one too. The thing with emergency protection order is you don't have to be facing actual violence to get one. If you
Okay.
can explain to a judge, so break it down. You've got safety concerns. Detail the safety concerns. If he's threatened you, how has he threatened you? If some show knives, some will have firearms, they'll point a firearm at you, but they still know. So there's all this violence that you're going on, that you're experiencing. Once you detail it to a judge, go down to the courthouse, tell your story, chances are it will be granted. Once it's granted, we, the police, are given that emergency protection order. We'll show up to the house, we'll serve it to the person who is listed on it, and we'll remove him from the house. So the thing with the EPO, emergency protection order, is they have 2 weeks. So if I serve it on someone, they have 2 weeks to show up to court and counter your evidence.
Yeah.
So if you're lying, or because once or twice I've seen this used as a tool to remove someone from a house. So I don't want you in the house anymore. I'm gonna kick you out of the house. So, but then in 2 weeks now, you have the opportunity to give your side of the story, and the judge will listen to it. So chances are, if you are lying, the judge will toss this out, and that's it. But if the judge decides to uphold it, then it's extended, I believe, for either 6 months to up to a year. So you don't need me, the police. That's two things. One, you don't need the police to apply for it. And two, the physical violence, even though it's lacking, you can still get it through if they've been uttering threats or something along those lines. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Someone says, can children in a violent home ask for EPO?
Sorry, can children in a violent home do what?
Ask for an EPO, get an EPO against their parents.
So with that, yes, they can. Not the problem. So one, how old is the child? That's the other thing. Because
Under 18, we're 12-year-old, 13, 9.
Yes, they
If their
can.
family if their parents are constantly fighting, can that child apply for an EPO?
So a child can, but what I would advise, like if I was that kid, is I would call the police. I'd call the police. The police we have our child at risk team,
Yeah.
CART. So we have CART, and that's their expertise, because they could apply for it on behalf of the child. The only issue is because that child needs a guardian, the child may end up being removed from the home. Because so that has complexities to it. But yes, we've had it where it was applied for. So I love telling stories. We had a situation where a girl I won't say how old she um, was experiencing sexual violence from her stepdad. And we applied for it on behalf of the child and removed the man from the house. But then the mom stayed in the house. But this one, then, if it's both parents, that complicates everything. So, yeah, CART would have to take over that for sure.
I
Yeah.
have a question here. If the police shows up at someone's house for a wellness check on kids requested by a troublesome ex, especially if the ex is lying, does that person whom the police showing up at their house have the right now to engage with the police or allow them come into their house? If the parents with the kids refuse, are there consequences? That's a lot.
So I love that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, you got it. Go ahead.
So the reason I love that one is I go to a call like that, at least one, like 4 calls like that every set. So remember when I talked about child custody disputes?
Yeah.
People love using the police to smear each other. Mostly, bad divorce, these kids at play, and you're trying to smear. So for starters, anytime there's a welfare check for a child, it's like 911. If you dial 911, we have to show up. If someone complains you're abusing the kid, we have to show up too. So what I would advise you is this: always talk to the police and always open the door. Let them come in, because we have those who are such chronic callers that it becomes a known factor, but we just come because we're required to come, and we don't come to judge. So we're not coming to judge you. We come because by law I have to come and check on this kid. So just open the door, because anytime I show up to the house to do a welfare check, I document it, say great mother, kids are healthy, allegations unfounded. So when there's 20 reports like that, there's really nothing. It's child custody disputes are one of those instances where it's really sad. It's tough. But yeah, my advice is just, when the police calls, pick up. Like, because when you decide to not let the police in your house or see the kids, then that could be used by your ex as
Weapon.
a weapon. Yeah, they'll weaponize that. Oh yeah, the cops showed up on Wednesday and she wouldn't let the cops see the child. Just let the police officers in, let them see the kids play. And most of us, once we read and see there's 15 entries about the same man making the same complaint, we might just make a phone call to you and be like, hey, so this is what happened. Click. End of story.
Okay. If a complaint is made about a neighbor and the police shows up, will the neighbors be informed of the person that reported them?
Yes, because I need their version of events. Anytime you make an allegation, no, it depends on the allegation.
So if I call the police on my neighbor, so you will tell that neighbor that I was the one that called them?
It depends. If you are calling to tell me that the neighbor spat on my face, I have to get their version of events. But if you're calling to say that my neighbor's yard is messy, I can keep that private. So
if I'm calling to tell you that I'm hearing screams next door, I think there's something is wrong, they're fighting all the time, and you show up at that house, will you tell them that, oh, your neighbor called that
No.
that you guys are fighting?
No, if you don't want to provide a statement, I will honor your request. So
Okay.
it's only if you are the victim, because you're accusing someone else of something, then I have to get their version of events. But if you're this independent witness, you have a right to your privacy. If you don't want to say you're the one who heard everything and called, I'll request your privacy as a witness. So
Okay.
if you're the victim, that's different. But if you're a witness, no, I wouldn't tell the neighbor. Most times I don't.
Okay.
If the neighbor doesn't want to provide a statement.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
There's so many questions.
Okay, so if you're experiencing any of this, so if you're being kicked, slapped, you're being intimidated, like you're being constantly put down, like, you're fat, you're this, you're that, like you're not getting your basic. I had a female who, she was a stay-home mom, and he was rationing her basic needs, like sanitary stuff and things like that. That's financial abuse. You don't have access to money. That's wrong. So if you're living in fear, talk to someone. Talk to Dee. She will hook you up with us. So you shouldn't have to live like that. So anyway, move on. Child discipline. So the law gives parents the ability to discipline children. So for those of you who think you can't discipline your child, yes, you can. But there's also the law limits
There's
the
a
kind of
parameter.
so the kind of discipline you can give your child. So let's quickly watch this video.
Laws for treating your children are different in every country and have changed in Canada over time. There are ways to treat your child that is acceptable in Canada. Not acceptable, however, is any use of weapons, and you should have no intention to harm your child.
Okay. Y'all have a wooden spoon. So we'll be honest here. Like I'll be honest. Everybody has a wooden spoon, and when I'm not wearing this uniform, I try to. Right now, I'm a police officer, and I'll talk as one. But I know wooden spoons exist. So how the law describes it is anyone who causes a child to need intervention. So say, how can I put this? Okay, so you cannot use a tool to discipline your child. So you have to use, it has to be your hand. So open palm, you can't hit the head. It has to be like the bump, the butt of your child. And then you cannot leave any bruising. So if you discipline, so those are two things. One, you're allowed to discipline, but you can't use a weapon. I know I'm calling it a weapon. That wooden spoon is a weapon. But if you choose that weapon, if you decide to discipline your child using your hand, then and leave bruising, that's a problem. So what it says is you can only discipline a child, you can only spank a child who's between the ages of 2 and 12. It can only be on the bum, over clothes, with the hand only, no objects. And you cannot leave any marks or bruising. I know, you're getting questions right now, Deepa. Nobody's saying anything. So it's a very contentious issue because people are like, oh, how dare you tell me how to raise your child? So and that's I'm going to move on to traffic offenses if there's no questions. But that's what the Criminal Code of Canada says about disciplining your child.
Somebody's asking, what if my child is lying about the discipline? What can I do?
So I'll tell you what the process is. So I mentioned a unit called CART, so Child at Risk Team. So if your child, most instances, children disclose these things at school. So kid will go to school, say, my mama, used the wooden spoon on me. The teacher will file a report. Family Child Services will be involved. Family Child Services is involved, but then we, the police, will also speak to your child. And what it is we'll carry out, it's called a child forensic interview if it's extreme. But most times we catch this lie in the beginning because we know kids lie. So I've gone to instances where like this kid was like, oh, my dad uses like the buckle of a belt on me. And within 10 minutes of talking to this kid was like, I'm sorry, I lied. So sometimes it goes nowhere if the kid is lying. We'll talk to the kid and you can tell if a kid is lying or not. Kids are not good liars. So yes, so we will have a conversation with the kid and we'll find out that the kid is lying and that will be the end of it. But yeah. We
Can
have
this met can this method be repeated? Say spanking on the bum 2 times or 5 times. Does it matter?
as long as you don't leave. So as long as there's no marks or bruising on the kid, you're good. If that kid goes to daycare and their bum's getting changed and all they see is like, you have to explain. You know how it is with this country, because I have a good friend of mine who was babysitting the kids, burned, accidentally spilled like the hot water when he was making the kids meal, like I forget what you call it, formula, had to
Mhm.
rush the kid to the hospital. Family Child Services showed up at their house 3 days later, and they had to explain how those burns happened. So if there's injuries on your child that cannot be explained, either that school will file a complaint or the hospital will file a complaint. Like, that's life in North America. If you can't explain why your child is the way that your child is, and you know, I have brothers. My big brother broke 4 limbs. I'm pretty sure Family Child Services would have been at my mom's house if we were in Canada. But I grew up in Kenya, so it's different here. It's different. They have to police how we raise our kids, and I think it's something. It's when we save children's lives, which I have seen it happen, it's a good thing. But then to you, who's a good parent and actually doing everything right, it sounds annoying and and patronizing. But then when it's a child who actually needs it, which I've seen it time and time and again on the job, I'm hardcore. It brings me to tears when I see kids being abused. So I think it's something we will have to like when you move out here, they will police how you raise your kids. And if your kid says a remark at school and it's an interesting remark, someone will be knocking on your door. So it's
I
part
have
of
a
it.
I have a question here. If I am arrested at home and taken into custody, how long will I remain in custody? And what am I? Sorry, how long will I remain in custody?
Okay, so most offenses, you will be released in 24 hours. So you have to do something really, really bad, like really bad for them to hold you. So the process with Calgary is this. So if it's domestic violence assault, I'll arrest you. I'll take you to what's called arrest processing, which is, we call it jail. It's a Calgary Police Service jail, whereby you will have a bail hearing in front of a justice of peace. So the justice of peace will look at the evidence, and then they'll determine how much money you have to put down for your bail hearing. So maybe $500, and then they'll release you on conditions. So in Canada, it's not like back with most third world, like African countries. When you're arrested, they have 24 hours to bring you before a justice of peace. So if you're held for over 24 hours without telling you, or before bringing you before a justice of peace, that's a breach of your charter rights. So you will be released within a maximum of 24 hours, but you will be released with conditions. So most of them, if it's assault, they'll be like, don't talk to the person, don't go to their house, go to their place of work. And then if you breach those release conditions, you're rearrested and taken to jail. So the one thing I tell people is, so say if it's domestic violence, because I've seen this happen too. You're arrested, taken to jail, and you know you didn't do it, like you're innocent. With this, I've seen it mostly as men. You know you didn't do it, you're innocent. Taken to jail, and then you're released on bail. And there's release conditions. And on those release conditions is you do not communicate, you don't go back to the house. You've been charged. You haven't been convicted yet. You don't have a criminal record. You only have a criminal record if you're convicted. The mistake people make is they breach those release conditions. So you decide to go back to the house. And the moment you go back to the house, that's it. Because then I, as the police, like I've shown up to homes where, dude, we arrested you last night. Why are you back here? So now I, as the police, have a open shut case that I saw you at the residence and you're breaching release conditions, because that's a court order. You do not want to breach a court order. So all you have to do is just stay away from the person, or just be away. Don't breach the release conditions. Let it either go to court or figure out, get a lawyer, find the evidence, and plead, and get found not guilty. Because once you breach your release conditions, that's it. So maximum 24 hours, and then you're out.
2 questions. What if it's over the weekend? Do the judges work over the weekend? And another question is, so bail is not free. That's a question. Is bail free? Or is
No,
bail?
So judges do work 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, judges work 24 hours, and then bail is not free. So I've seen $20 bail. I've seen $500 bail. So it depends on the crime and what you did. Yeah. So I don't know how they come up with the money. I once saw a teenage kid who committed robbery get released on what, $5-10? I don't know. It's comical sometimes, but yeah, it's not free.
Somebody's asking, some kids need more than what you are saying. Is the police willing to punish the kids?
So that's the other thing is, I, as the police, can't really punish. It's up to the justice system to do that. So I've come across kids doing despicable things. And the saddest part is with the police. So I don't know if most people know this, but in Canada, you cannot charge someone under the age of 12. So if I'm 11 and I kill my neighbor, no. 12, no.
What?
Yes. And then between the ages of 13 and 17, it's under the Justice Youth Act. What it is, people say is your record is wiped clean. So if you commit an offense when you're under the age of 17, it's sealed. It's very rare instances where a 17, 16-year-old is charged as an adult. But some of these kids, I think what's happening is, because criminals know this, so you have 14, 15-year-old kids committing very violent robberies because the justice system it's like a slap. So these kids are being used to commit the offenses, and then the money goes up the chain into the crime. Yeah. So kid will rob someone and we'll arrest you rob someone using a firearm, we arrest the kid, take the kid to jail, kid is released after 24 hours, and the cycle continues. And the kid goes back to it. So as the police, we can't hold kids accountable. It's the justice system that does it. And if the justice system says the kid walks, the kid walks. Our job is just to arrest and charge the person. Investigate the crime, arrest, charge. The rest is up to the justice system.
Quick question. If I charge my spouse with domestic abuse and he has to appear in court, can I change my mind?
Yes, you can. So what it is so I'm not an expert at it. This is just this so secondhand. So what happens is he gets arrested, he goes to court, and then you change your mind. So we have a unit in court. The name escapes me. Is they will reach out to you, and it's a unit that deals specifically with domestic violence. I forget what it's called. So you communicate with them like that you do not want the whole thing to proceed, and I believe you have to write a letter. There's things you have to do, and yes, the charges are dropped. So yeah,
I have someone saying that I tried that, but the Crown prosecution still wants to go ahead and charge my spouse.
Okay, so now
saying that, hold on, and I am being threatened with wasting court. What? So I'm trying to understand what she's saying.
So
I tried to cancel. I've written a letter saying that I don't want the case to go to trial, but my wishes are not being considered by the Crown.
Okay. So
Sorry, this is not your area.
that's a very good question. So there's one thing I forgot to mention with domestic violence. Um, we don't need the victim's consent to charge the offender.
Sorry, what?
So I don't need the victim's consent to charge the offender. So say if my husband now is hitting me, my neighbor across the street sees my husband hitting me. The neighbor calls the police. And then when the police shows up, I deny that my husband didn't beat me. The police can go ahead and arrest my husband based off of my neighbor's testimony and charge him based off of that. So this is just what I'm suspecting is your situation. They have evidence that shows the offense actually happened, and they can go ahead without your testimony, without your verbal statement. So I think that's why the Crown is choosing to go ahead without listening to you. If all they had was just you, then it makes the case shaky. But in my opinion, I think there's more to it, because I've had a situation like that whereby the wife denied that the assault didn't happen, but I have three neighbors saying, hey, this guy stomped on her head a couple of times. We saw it happen. That's it. So that's what I suspect. I think that's the issue, but I wouldn't know.
Okay. Somebody's asking another. So no juvenile crime charges in Canadian law. So is there no juvenile crime charges in Canadian law is what they're asking.
Hold on. This thing is telling me it wants to restart my computer.
No, don't do that.
I'm trying to close it. Okay. Is it still there?
Yeah, I can see it. Go ahead.
Okay. So yes, it's called the Youth Justice Act. So yes, there is charges for them, but it's not as, the weight of it is not as bad as the adult. So once you turn 18, the tables turn. But we do have the Youth Justice Act. And I'll give you an example. With the Youth Justice Act, if, say, a kid stole something, like I had a situation where there was these refugee kids and they stole stuff from a store. Instead of, they were both either 16 and two 17-year-olds. So instead of charging these kids with theft, what I did is, under the Youth Justice Act, these alternative measures whereby these kids are either told to do government service, like some type of social service, or take some lessons, do all of these things. So when a youth commits an offense, we don't necessarily have to charge them. There's other ways in which the system does. But at the same time, if a youth commits an offense and it's violent enough that the Crown thinks it meets the threshold for them to be charged as an adult, they do it too. But there is a Youth Justice Act. I'm not an expert at it, but I would challenge you to go read on it. It is.
Somebody wants to know, how can I join the police force?
Oh, my favorite topic.
Go online.
So what it is, and that's the thing, because you've seen me, like, we're only two African women, like both of us were born and raised back home. So every time, like, I love it when I'm driving down the street and people see me, everybody is shocked because they're like, how are you wearing, like, how are you a police officer? So how can you join? It's called, I think the website is, we are Join Calgary Police or something. I'll have to Google it. I don't have my cell phone with me. I think it's Join Calgary Police.
I can find it,
Yeah, so you can find it, share it with them. So what it is it's an online form. It's about 150 pages long. It's very easy.
Oh my God.
Oh no, it's really easy. You can do it in one afternoon. Just go through it. So the things I have to tell you is, one, you have to be in shape. Okay, I'm not anymore. I used to be.
Are you sure? Most police officers love their donuts.
No. See, that's a myth.
I see it at Tim Hortons.
No, I love I'm a bagel person. But what it is one, you have to be in shape. So when I joined, I was in tip-top shape. But with working night shift, your body changes and you hold the weight. So that's my excuse. But one, you have to be in shape. So for you who are women, I'm 5 foot, almost one. I used to weigh 125 pounds, and I was able to do the physical test. So, and I'm African. I'm like the most African person you'll ever come across. So one, you have to be in shape. Two, you need to have, I think, a minimum of 5 demerit driving points. 3, check your credit. I had student loans,
Credit?
that's okay. Yeah, your credit, like your credit history. So I had student loans, that's okay. But if you have $30,000 in credit card debt, you need to explain how that happened because they do a credit check. Yeah, because then you're culpable. Like if you have so much debt, then you know, so and then what else? You can't have no criminal record. So I had zero criminal record. And then you also need to not have what do you call it? I don't associate with sketchy people. By sketchy, I mean you cannot. If you have a family member who commits crime, isn't crime, you gotta cut them off. That's all you need to do. So you go in, fill out the form, and they'll make you do a written test, physical test, and then they do background check, and you're in. So I would say we're really short staffed. They're really, really hiring aggressively. It's a great job. I love my job most days. Pension, great staff. Like it's the one job whereby like I love the guys I work with. It's the one job where you go to work knowing they can take a bullet for me, literally. Like they would lay their lives on me. Like we're friends, we hang out, we laugh together. Like we're so tight. And like I said, I'm the only African.
Wow, in the whole
So
of Calgary Police. We need more people, so please join
yeah,
the
so there's
police.
a few men, like there's African men out there. But then and
Women, join.
there's black women, but we African, there's a lot of black women. But we African women, we're different. Like even when I go to calls, the way I talk to people, it's different. Like how I relate with people, we're very nurturing. I'm not saying other women are not, but when we go into a situation when we're dealing with Africans, we know what we're walking into. You have that knowledge as an African of how
Yeah.
to best deal with things, right? So this
That
thing
that
is
takes me to
telling
my
me,
question.
yeah.
How does CPS provide culturally appropriate responses to 911 calls regarding spousal relationship, domestic violence? How does CPS address, respond or provide culturally appropriate responses? I mean, you mentioned some, like, being African, you understand. But for those that are not African, when, other police officers that maybe are Caucasian or of other cultures, when they go into, a Muslim home or an African home, how do they have the tools, the education to be able to respond in a cultural way?
I would say yes. The service has like they make us go through training. There's a lot that they've done to educate people culturally. So same thing with me. Like I knew nothing about East Indian culture, but then I went to the temples, like the Sikh temple. I've been to the Sikh temple. Like I've learned about the culture. So they make it a point to teach you, like to show you. So I would say for the the 7 years I've been on the job, I've never experienced racism and I've never observed racism happen. I don't know. I know there's people with different stories, but I would say the service has done a very good job in educating officers. And, sometimes, if you deal with one, maybe they're having a bad day. I've had bad days. And if there's anyone here who's dealt with me when I'm having a bad day and I write you that ticket, I'm sorry. So just had to throw that in there. This thing is telling me that it will forcibly restart the computer in 20 minutes. It
Okay,
won't
we're
let
done in
me
20
snooze.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, if anybody has a question, please quickly put it in. We are supposed to be done by 1 as anyway, so we're still on time.
Yeah.
I do
So
have, I'll let you finish the traffic one because I have some questions on traffic.
okay, let me see here. See, it won't even let me. Hope it'll let me play.
Hi, I'm Constable Watson with the Calgary Police Service, and I'm here with Constable Van Dorp with the traffic unit, and he's going to walk us through the perfect traffic stop.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. As you can see, we've pulled this vehicle over for speeding today. As an officer, we typically pick a safe place to pull a vehicle over well ahead of time. We want to make sure it's safe for them and for us. It's also important as a driver, when you see the emergency equipment on a police vehicle activate, their lights and their siren, it's important for you to pull over to the right-hand shoulder if you can, as safely as you can.
Would you run their license plate?
Yeah, so an officer doesn't right away approach the vehicle. What they're doing in the vehicle is they're running their plate on our computer dispatch system. That ensures we know who we're dealing with, as well as we're checking our surroundings and make sure it's safe to approach that vehicle. So an officer will typically approach the driver's side of the vehicle. They'll identify themselves and they'll let you know the reason for the traffic stop. It's important that you have your documents ready, including a license, insurance, and registration. Hi, ma'am. How are you today? Good. Good. I'm Constable Van Dorp with the Calgary Police Service. I pulled you over for speeding today. Is there any reason you're going so fast today? Okay. Do you have your driver's license, insurance, and registration available? Thank you. Perfect. Are you still living at this address, ma'am? Perfect. I'm just going to go back to my police vehicle for a few minutes. If you need to get me for any reason, just honk the horn or wave out the window. It's important that you stay in your vehicle for your safety, okay? Thank you.
So why did you tell them to remain in their vehicle?
Well, the vehicle is the safest place for a person to be. On busy highways, there's lots of cars, lots of things going on, and you don't want to be walking around on the highway.
So what documents did she provide to you?
On the demand of a police officer, you have to produce your driver's license, your insurance, and registration. The driver's license and the registration should be a hard copy. The insurance can be a digital copy as accepted by the laws.
Are you going to write them a ticket or give them a warning?
Well, at this time, I'm going to do some checks on my computer, and I'll make a decision. But if I do give them a ticket, it's important for them to know it's not the time or the place to argue on the side of the road. The time or the place to dispute the ticket is in the court system. They've even made it easy now where you can actually go electronically online and send in a request to have your ticket reviewed. Just make sure you don't let it go past the DMV.
Perfect. Well, thank you for walking us through the perfect traffic stop.
You're welcome, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so that's traffic stops. Let me see.
And I have a question already.
Yeah.
If a vehicle is registered under my name and runs a red light, but it was driven by somebody else, who is responsible?
So if it's the what you call them, the red lights, the ones at the traffic stops, I mean at the intersections.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the registered owner. So usually those go with the registered owner, but if it's someone driving your car and gets pulled over by a cop for running a red light, that ticket is written to the driver. I hope that makes sense.
That definitely makes
Okay. Okay, so let me quickly go through the impaired driving one real quick here, because I think we need to talk about this. It's one of the things I've seen in our community. So, and then we'll go on from there.
Hi, I'm Constable Watson with the Calgary Police Service, and I'm here with Constable Van Dorp from the traffic unit, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about impaired driving.
December in Alberta is Impaired Driving Awareness Month. Us at the Calgary Police Service have teamed up with other agencies, including the Sheriff's, the RCMP, and other local municipal police services to increase our check stop awareness. You may be called into a check stop, at which time you will have to provide a sample of breath for us to screen you for alcohol. We also are conducting drug impairment checks at those check stops.
And what are the consequences to somebody if they are impaired driving?
Consequences range from a provincial suspension of 3 days up to criminal charges that could result in a lengthy suspension and even jail time.
And really, there's just no need to drive impaired. You can always call a friend, call a cab, keys please, an Uber. Do you have anything else you'd like to talk to us about?
Yeah, there is no reason, no matter what time of the year, there's no reason to drink and drive or be high and drive. There's so many options out there. You don't want to be involved in a fatal collision like the one vehicle behind us. Just call a friend and don't drink and drive and don't be high and drive.
Don't drink and drive.
Okay, so I'll just quickly touch on drinking and driving. Okay, so first with traffic stops, on demand, yes, give that driver's license, registration, and insurance. If they write you a ticket, fight the ticket. There's a scan code, fight the ticket, show up for court. Sometimes they end up canceling those tickets because we officers make administrative errors when we write those tickets. So who knows? It could get canceled. If it doesn't, the officer might show up to the court or they might not show up. So always plead not guilty anytime you get a ticket. The next thing with impaired driving is don't drink and drive. Like I've seen it happen so many times amongst our African communities. And I remember back home, it was a thing because nobody, like, people just drunk, you drink and drive. But with here, there's consequences to it. So I'm going to tow your vehicle for 30 days and it'll be held for storage at the main impound lot. Your insurance, one, you may never be able to get insurance. And if you do, they'll be charging you $400-$500 a month. If you end up injuring or killing someone, or if your child is in the backseat of a car, that's another criminal offense. So don't drink and drive. If you have to drink, get either someone to drive you or get an Uber home, because the financial repercussions when it comes to impaired driving are very, very hefty. So, and that's it for me. We've got 15 minutes.
Wow. If you can stop sharing, that would be great.
Okay.
Yes, that was amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. If anybody has any questions or you have a comment, please unmute and, we will take your comments. But Constable Jessica, you're fantastic. Every time we do this, I love doing this with you because, we're very few that do, that have these conversations. So this is amazing. I think takeaways, for me from this, and I will let anybody else, who wants to, to speak on mute, is that, when it comes to domestic violence, you do not need consent for someone to be charged. Evidence speaks, right? Evidence, can speak, even if the victim does not want to press charges. So you can still be charged. And another thing that you said is verbal statement can lead to a charge. Verbal statement can lead to a charge. And I've seen this with some of these Me Too movements where people are being charged, 20 years, 30 years after after an alleged offense. And, verbal statements. And we can't always tell when people are lying or when people are telling the truth. So it's a sad world that we live in, that you're already guilty and you have to prove yourself innocent in some cases. Yeah. Mrs. D, go ahead, unmute yourself. We have a few minutes. We can take a few comments. You're on mute. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for this very insightful conversation today. I really appreciate it. So my question here is about traffic. So when I'm on a highway, so I'm like going on a speed limit, let's say I want to overtake a car on the fast lane, and the speed limit for that road is 110. What is the legally acceptable speed limit to overtake the vehicle beside me?
Wow, that's tough. So my advice to you would be, so there's someone in front of you, you would like to overtake them because they're driving too slow, right?
So I'm on the middle lane. I'm driving on a
Are you driving right now?
I'm not driving right now.
Okay.
My husband is driving. So there's somebody on the middle. I'm on the middle lane and I want to overtake the person in front of me. So I go on the fast lane on my left.
Yeah.
So now I want to overtake the person. Remember, the person is still on the middle. What is the acceptable speed limit to go?
So I'll give you my advice. Mm-hmm. Most officers, most offices, our maximum threshold is 10 kilometers, between 10 and 15 kilometers an hour. So you'll notice that if you're doing 115 and you're driving behind a police officer or in front of, if you're driving in front of one or you pass one, they won't do anything. So that's usually my threshold. If you're doing 10 and 15 over, that's okay. But then you'll find some officers, like there'll be those who are very like by the book, they'll write you one for doing like 12 over, 13 over. So my thing is, if there's a police car nearby, 10 over will not get you in trouble. 15, maybe you're pushing it depending on who the officer is. And then if there's the speed people, like the name keeps escaping me. You know, when you're driving and you see the SUVs on Deerfoot with traffic drive safely written on them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those ones, I believe if you do over 10, I think it's either between 10 and 15, you could get a ticket. So there's that discretion. When it comes to police officers, there's discretion. I don't write tickets. I'm a little bit heavy-footed, and speed is not my passion when it comes to traffic tickets. So I usually look for 30 or 40 over, sometimes 50 over. That's when I would write like a traffic ticket. My traffic tickets are normally red lights. Like there's these people who the light is red. Why are you still going? That
Yeah.
one, I will write it for you. Like I'll write that ticket so fast. So
Yeah.
every officer has their niche. Mine is red light tickets. Speed, you're doing 10, 15, 20 over. I'll just ignore you and just keep doing my thing. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question here for you. When the police are called to my home and there's children involved, do they call children's services? How are children's services involved?
So the only time we call children's services is when I have safety issues. So I've gone to homes whereby there's domestic violence between husband and wife, and both of them are drunk and like beating the shit out of each other. That's when I call family child services because they're incapable of taking care of the kids. But if there's one capable parent, then we remove the other troublesome one and leave the kids with a capable parent. The other time we involve, so people also need to realize that anytime there's domestic, we write a domestic information report, family child services is automatically notified. So there's that, we work in partnership with them. They'll read my report, and based off of my report, they'll make a determination if they need to open a file on that family.
So they're automatically notified if there's
Yes.
children involved.
Yes, anytime, because you'll notice that an officer will say, hey, can I get your kids' names and date of birth? So we
Okay.
include all of those children as part of the domestic information report, even though there's no charges. Just the fact that there's a domestic information report and we check the box that says child at scene, then we have the children's names, they'll read, and then they'll be like, okay, maybe we need to open a file. Because sometimes there's no criminal element to it. It's just bad parenting. And this bad parenting could be detrimental for the kids, and they need to be involved.
Okay. Another question here I have here is what are some of the silly reasons couples have called the police on each other?
Oh,
Sorry. I just
okay.
read the question.
I'm like, no. I wish this wasn't censored. This is something you and I, Dee, can have a
I
conversation.
know.
But yeah.
I just read it and I'm just like,
Yeah, I think the
Okay, let
funniest-
me rephrase it.
Yeah.
What are some reasons why you should not call the police?
Don't call the police if your partner is refusing to have sex with you. Like seriously, like
Are you
yeah. So like there's don't call the police for that, or don't call me because there's this one that really frustrated me. Her boyfriend was breaking up with her, and she wanted me, the police, to convince the boyfriend to stick around. That's not a police matter. Don't call me for that. So yeah, that was one of the ones that stuck in my mind. But yeah, I've got stories. So yeah, I've got. Yeah, those are tea time stories when I'm not in uniform. But yes, don't call me to come and adjudicate like, oh, he wants to leave, please make him stay. If he wants to leave, let him leave. Find another man, period. So yeah.
Okay. I heard somebody say if you have to call the police to come and settle an argument between you and your spouse, you should rethink that relationship.
That's exactly it.
Explain.
Sorry, someone wants me to explain that.
Yeah.
So, one, for starters, if you have children, for the police to be coming in and out of your house, that's not, it affects the children, because I found that kids who are troublesome that I end up having to deal with as teenagers as a police officer come from broken homes where the police are always in and out of those homes. So one, it exposes your kids to, I don't know how it negatively affects them, but it does. The second thing is, it's not normal. I'm a police officer. My job is to arrest and charge people. I shouldn't be coming to your house to adjudicate a disagreement with your partner, because you should be able to talk about it. And if you can't talk about it, go to counseling, reach out to Dee, she'll hook you up with someone. Because I deal with the criminal side of things,
Criminal.
the threatening side of things. And if you don't feel safe enough in being in an environment, you shouldn't be in it in the first place. That's why I say if you need the police, which means you don't feel safe, you need to leave.
Thank you so much. We have 2 minutes left. I will take Danny, you can unmute. And while he's doing that, what if the partner calls the police to grab the car key from your partner? You both owned the car. Huh? Somebody wants to know, how do I get okay, what if the partner calls the police to grab the car key from,
Okay. So this
or
is two
threatens to
things.
call the police to get the car keys off you?
Let
Hey.
them threaten the police. So this is the other thing with police officers. So we do what's called a domestic standby. Say you and your boyfriend have broken up and you tell him, I don't feel you safe coming back, only come back with the police. If he comes to pick up his stuff and there's an argument about the ownership of property, my policy is it stays, because as the police, we're there to keep the peace. We're not there to officiate marital property. It's marital property, go to civil court. So if he's threatening to send the police to come and pick up the car keys, but it's marital property, the police can't do anything. We don't adjudicate whether the property belongs to him or you.
It's not a life-threatening situation. It's not a police issue.
It's not a police matter. That's a civil matter. Go to the civil court, they'll figure out who owns the car.
Thank you. Finally, Danny, you have the last word.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much. Sorry, I don't know what your name is, but thank you for your information.
Jessica. Yeah.
And Jessica, thank you. Me and Dee, we deal most of the stuff with our community. I think we have so many newcomers, and
Yes.
then we are facing a lot of issues. Is there any way you can help me hosting like an event information session, like to educate those people before they break the rule?
I would love to. So what we'll do is Dee, share my information
will.
with him. Which community are you from?
I am from the Eritrean and Ethiopian community.
Yes, I would love to come and do a presentation. So Dee can give you my contact information. You give me a shout. And what we'll do is, this was a little bit awkward because it's my house, but we can plan on a day where I'm working. It's a day shift and I can come to you because you guys have a community center in the Northeast, right?
Yes, we do.
Yes, so I can come to Falcon Ridge and we can have a conversation. So yes, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Reach out to me if any community would like to have Constable Jessica. I think we need to keep having more of these conversations.
Yeah.
Please reach out to me. This is not a restricted presentation or a private, no, this is a public education, and every community should be having this conversation. So please reach out and we can make sure that the CPS gets to your community, gets to your faith group, gets to your association. It's critical that we have these conversations. Constable Jessica, I love talking with you, my darling. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone that's joining in, because I know her computer is going to log off in a minute.
Yeah, you got a minute and a half.
My name is Dee Adekubi. I am the founder and executive director of Ruth's House Society. We're here to provide emergency shelter and support to women and children, as well as Mandela House for men of of African descent who are experiencing family violence, been removed from the home, and just need help. Please do not suffer in silence. There is help in our community. If your relationship is toxic, please get out and get help. If you just want to learn more, please reach out. We can connect you with resources. Life here is for thriving, not just for surviving. Again, I'm Dia Kubi of Roots House Society. Thank you all for joining in. This presentation is also on our YouTube channel, so feel free to go and share it and rewatch it and learn more. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Saturday, weekend. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Stay safe.